Hello, and welcome to Book Reviews Kill, a podcast about fantasy, science fiction, and horror novels. I'm Evan.
And I'm Chad.
And today we are talking about Jade War, specifically part 2 of our recap of the Greenbone saga. What a book! Oh my God.
Yeah, I got to applaud Fonda. She did a little bit of the second book in a series, Woes, where things get a little more explaining, kind of establishing the platform, but not too much. She did a really good job keeping it exciting, keeping the story moving, having there be enough new places and new people that I was just interested the whole time.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think the first third of the book was a little bit grindy, I guess, where I had to really sit and just I'm really glad there was a glossary at the beginning of this book. But yeah, I mean, we're in Port Massey and the Uwiwa Islands and stuff, and just different characters, and not only different characters, but just factions. There's just all kinds of more moving pieces. But that was just the first third, and everything just kept escalating and escalating to the point where now we're at the end of the second book, and I couldn't even tell you what's going to happen in this in this third book. It's just oh boy.
Yeah, obviously Mountain Clan still majorly in the game, big baddies, but there's a war going on between Ispenia and
Igatan.
What's the other? Igatan, thank you.
Yeah.
I don't know what's going to be the main element. I know that the war is being used by the Mountain Clan to accomplish certain goals and stuff, but man, I couldn't tell you who's going to be, whether or not this next book is going to focus more on the war and that's going to come to Kikan, or whether or not the Mountain Clan is just going to revitalize the war and it's going to be book 1 all over again ×2.
Well, I mean, it seems like the Ispenians have kind of hinted at Kikan kind of being in danger of the war spilling over to the island, and there's a lot that's being developed in these first 2 books that also kind of point at that, with the value that Kikan is bringing with the Jade and with the kind of army of Greenbone soldiers that are really well equipped to at least defend their own island, if not contribute to the forces in these other skirmishes. So I think I would probably lean a little bit more toward the war, having more of a I don't know, just more
ancillary.
Yeah, just more light shed on that, and it being a bigger player, because even in this book I felt like the conflict wasn't even necessarily directly between the mountain and No Peak, as much as it was these other factions that were loosely connected to each of those clans, which made it way more interesting. And like I said in the last episode, I mean, it's feeling more like epic fantasy. The stakes are so much higher than just who's going to control this city, who's going to control the Jade. Is this entire island going to get attacked? Is
it invaded?
Well, and they're all expanding so much. I mean, the mountain is expanding into Igatan with Shine, and No Peak is now buying up real estate in Ispenia, and not only that, but just setting up this whole other base of operations in Port
selling
Massey.
Jade.
Right. So yeah, I'm really, really into this. I think that the third book is probably going to be pretty exciting the whole way through, and I'm not even that bummed out that the first third of this book was slow, because I think we were both kind of expecting it. And the latter half of it way more than made up. Oh my God, it's
absolutely it was exciting
so
thing
much
after exciting thing. There were a few times that I was at stoplights listening to it on audiobook, and things would happen, I'd be oh, and just look like a crazy person freaking out in my car. Also, our prediction, or my prediction for at the end of the last book, was totally wrong about how I thought we were going to get a whole lot more education and involvement of the other clans. Nope, not at all.
At least not the ones in Janloon.
Yeah.
I mean, there are kind of technically other clans in Port Massey. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I know what you're saying. It's still very much No Peak and the Mountain Clan.
Yeah,
but I don't know. There are a lot of things that happened in this book, especially that it's I wasn't expecting it, and not only was I not expecting this event, but the reaction, or the what I mean, the kind of steps taken after something happens.
Yeah,
because I'm always expecting one character to do one thing, and then it's this completely out of left field action that they're taking, and it takes me a second sometimes to just be like, really?
Yeah, what?
Like is this
Yeah, like Hilo has done a few things this book that I'm like, wow, a few things that weren't positive either, that don't make me like his character more. And I was just like, oh dang, man, that was very extreme, sudden, and vicious.
Before we get into the first recap, do you have any? Who's your favorite character right now? Like, who would you say? Is it Andon?
Yeah, I like Andon. What about you?
I think I'm gonna go with Andon too. Like, I wish for the sake of the podcast we could each have a cool answer.
Yeah.
But like, I do. I don't know. I like Hilo a lot.
I do like Hilo too.
I think I like Shay more than Hilo, personally.
I like her as a leader more. Like if I was going to follow someone into battle, I would rather follow Shay into battle over Hilo. But if I were to go get drinks with either one of them, I think I'd pick Hilo. And if I was just going to be like buddies with one, like hanging out, I think Hilo and I would be, we would get along just fine. Except for when he like murders people on, then I'd be like, all right, dude, maybe less murder. Also, a close second for me would be Barrow.
Really?
I really like his character. He's grown and shrunk and all sorts of weird. His storyline is so different than I think that it's going to be, and his involvement continually surprises me. I don't know. I like reading about him.
Like every time he ends up in a chapter, it's just like, oh, here he is again.
Yeah, I will say that guy is lucky, man. If I was going to go to a casino with anyone, it would definitely be Barrow.
Absolutely.
He should have died 30 or 40 times by now.
All right. I think with all of that, it's a good intro. Let's get right into the first recap.
All right.
Shay has an abortion without telling Morrow. During the celebration of Heroes Day, Ait Mata publicly slanders Shay, who offers the pillar a clean blade. Shay and Ait Mata fight. The pillar proves the better fighter, but Shay holds her own and cuts Ait's ear. Shay is struck a mortal blow and surrenders to the pillar of the Mountain Clan. Ait takes some of Shay's jade and the two part ways. In Port Massey, the Grudge Hall is shot up by members of the crews. Andon helps to distract the police while Roan Toro defends the community center. In response to this attack, Pilar Dauk Losen asks Andon to appeal to the Call family for aid against the crews of Port Massey. After a meeting with the Espenian ambassadors, Hilo decides to take a trip to Espenia to help Andon and the Kekanese living in the city. After weeks of odd jobs, Mutt poisons Barrow and leaves him alone to die. After this, Mutt gets drunk in a bar and reveals who he is. The bartender makes a call to the No Peak clan. Hilo arrives in Espenia, reunites with Andon, and meets the Dauk family. After pleasantries are exchanged, Hilo agrees to help the Kekanese of Port Massey by negotiating the trade of raw jade to the crews. Hilo arrives back in Janloon to an incredulous Shay. She disapproves of the trade negotiations with the crews of Port Massey, but ultimately acquiesces to Hilo's plan. She tells Morrow about her abortion, and he storms out. Mutt is caught by Hilo and the Makes and taken to a remote location where he is buried alive with jade stones in his mouth. During a playdate at the park, Wen and her children witness Hilo's white Duchess explode with Make Ken, the Horn of No Peak and Wen's brother, just outside of it. Make Ken is killed. All right, that just stepped everything up so much. Like
someone really got buried alive.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because with these kinds of recaps and stuff, I always want to start at the beginning of the recap and kind of work our way through it. But we have to talk about that scene.
Oh because, man!
Oh, this the build up to it. And I've seen that. We've all seen that, right? In so many movies and stuff, it's always like we're gonna take him all the way out here, and we're gonna. But it's still the build up was so intense.
Oh, so horrific.
It's like how there's torture techniques where they'll inject somebody with adrenaline before they torture them. I got that kind of same vibe where not only would being buried alive be terrible, but making somebody go through the itches. Wow! No.
Yeah. Now they also put jade in his mouth though. So how much itches is he really going through? I guess.
I thought that Mutt couldn't handle the amount of jade.
Oh, you're right.
I think that's what it is.
Because the itches I thought was from a withdrawal. So I was like, now he's withdrawing from it. But he also doesn't, either way he's messed up, right? Because he's either doesn't have Shade and he's going through withdrawals, or doesn't have Jade and he's going through withdrawals, or he does have Jade but not Shine, and so he's getting itched
Right.
out.
It's like they overloaded him with it, essentially.
Okay.
It was just so much, and it's kind of alluding to what you were saying before, of like Hilo is so great. We get really deep down with Hilo, and we see so much humanity out of him, and he cares so much and stuff. And then he does stuff like this, and it just makes me so just I can't with this guy.
Yeah. Like, it'd be like if I was like hanging out with you after knowing you for so many years, being like, yeah, I was such a good dude. And you're like, hey, remember that guy that like beat up my sister? Be like, oh, yeah, I buried him alive earlier today. Like, what? Like, yeah, after I just like stuck him with a bunch of heroin. Like, haha, whoa, dude.
But I mean, like, it does make sense. I mean, like, it's not something that I would do personally, but it makes so much sense for Hilo's character to kind of like get back at this person that's responsible for the death of his brother, and not only responsible for the death of his brother, but kind of by extension responsible for everything that Hilo's been going through, right? So he's kind of like putting a lot of Hilo's recent experiences onto this kid, because Hilo's been stressed out.
Oh, he's gone through it.
Yeah.
One thing that I always find a good justification is when those sort of things are known by the enemies, right? You're like, oh, they're doing this so that way to make an example out of this person so that nobody else will do that sort of thing. But this wasn't that at all. Like, nobody knows that they did that. He just went out into the woods. That was a purely like, I want this person to suffer move.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you imagine being in that box? Like, I'm like drilling the. Nope. As soon as they get out the drill, you're like, well, I know I'm not getting out.
I literally can't imagine it. And I don't want. Fonda Lee is intense.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I've never hung out with her, but
can you imagine, like, you just started dating her and you're like reading these books and you like read that part, you're like, oh boy, better
But no, it's good that kind of stuff is in here, because that's what the content is. That's what this situation calls for. You can't pull punches when you're talking about gang wars, and you can't pull punches when the stakes are this high. Like, the brutality of the things that these people are doing to each other has to kind of like match up with everything else that's going on. So
totally,
I don't know if it's like a reflection on Fonda Lee's like personal character as much as it's just like, these are the things that are happening in the situation, and it makes it feel that much more real and kind of like deserved, because like if Hilo had caught up with that kid and it was like you
little rascal.
like we're gonna make sure you never get Jade again. See, like, it wouldn't have worked.
No. I thought okay, so one more thing on that before we move on is Mike Tar is telling the boys, right? Nico and Rue, is that Hilo's other kid's name? Rue?
Nico is Lan's son,
right? And then his son is named Rue. Yeah. He was like telling him what Hilo did to get revenge for Lan's death. And then it's mentioned that the kid has heard it many times. And then he was like, yeah, but you haven't heard that he actually buried him alive. Like, he's 3 years old. Should we be telling about the father burying someone alive story to a 3-year-old?
I think that
brutal.
That was some really good foreshadowing there. And like we can talk about this part too, even though it's not the beginning of whatever. That's fine. This is the really, really juicy, interesting part of this. But like it, when you're reading something, or even when you're watching something, and it starts talking about details, right? And you're like, something's about to happen. Like,
right.
Yeah,
so it's
you're
getting told, like, why would we get this much information?
Right. Yeah. So it's like, you have the foreshadowing in the car, right, where Make is basically saying this bond of brotherhood between your uncle and your dad is like really important, and you two can't be fighting all the time because it's just as important for the both of you. And then that is kind of the same with the Mike brothers, and it's kind of foreshadowing that. And like, I didn't really get that at first, because I'm just like reading along, but looking back on it, obviously. And then when Wen is with the kids in the park, and like it just starts getting really detailed with like the park and the car and stuff, and it's just, like, everything felt like it just slowed down, you know, in like this like shell shocked kind of like Tom Hanks in Saving Private Ryan way, where you're just like, wait a minute, what's, and then the car explodes. And then when the car, I mean, for me personally, when that car exploded, I mean, obviously I knew that it was Make Ken the horn and not Hilo, even though it's Hilo's car. But when that car exploded, in my head, I was just like, that's why there's a third book, right? Like this, this is about to get
Right.
like, what is the rest of this book gonna be, and how ramped up? Because that was a huge crossing of the line.
Oh, huge.
And there was even mention a little bit after that event that bombing a car, right? It's like the populace kind of like expects certain violence when there's this kind of war going on between clans and stuff. And it's not, it's like they're used to it at this point almost, but somebody blowing up someone else's car with them inside is like this, not only like a clan affront and an insult, but like so socially unacceptable,
Cowardly.
yeah, like in this context. And I had a feeling that it wasn't the Mountain Clan, like
Directly.
yeah, like Zapano. Like, how do you feel about all that stuff? Like, what did you think about it?
Okay, so he's obviously a lever being used, another lever being used by the Mountain Clan to get their way and to establish power and take out and do things like go against all form of etiquette and aisho and honor that the clans hold themselves to be used for devious, un-greenbone like acts like blowing up a car. But I don't know, for a while I thought they were kind of a distraction, like a weird, like, why is this thing even here? And I thought they were going to be eliminated much quicker, but then they really aren't. I guess they are. By the end of this book, they're pretty much removed from the playing field, or at least neutered to a point that I don't think that they'll be a big element in the third book.
Fonda Lee did a really good job at kind of downplaying just how much of an effect Zapano and his whole organization was actually going to have on everything. Because even Hilo goes out to the Iwiwa Islands and is just like, this is all pretty not like, this isn't very consequential
Whatever.
to all of this. Like, I've got a bunch of stuff going on. You know, you're kind of a pain in my ass, but I've got to deal with all of this. And now it's like, it kind of makes it so that going into this third book, any player in this game is capable of completely ruining everything else.
Yes.
So it is, yeah, that was really well done.
I think the Mountain Clan is going to go back to a little bit, or at least I hope so, is going to go back to a little bit more direct warfare. You know, like they're like pretty much in a truce right now, but each one is using their second layer, third layer players that they have control over in order to fight each other, you know? So it'll be interesting to see them go back into the front lines.
What did you think about the fight between Shay and Ait Mata?
What a beautiful, that was one of the things that I have listed as that I really liked.
Oh, cool.
Because it was so cool, because Shay is brilliant, always brilliant. She's just such a masterful leader. She needed to do something. Even her own clansmen were starting to think like, what is she, you know, is she really true to the clan? You know, like that conversation that Hilo had in the first half of the book with his people, with Hame Tumishan, and him being like, yeah, we've got to get Shay to step down. And like, so even her own clan is undermining her and arching an eyebrow in her direction. And so, and then when Ait Mata is up there just like talking smack publicly, she was like, I have to do something right now or I'm going to lose the respect of my own clan. So boom, she gets up, nails it. And then not only does she nail it on that decision, she nails it in the fight where she's got adrenaline coursing through her. She's injured, tired, sweaty, bloody, and she has the presence of mind to masterfully make it so put Ait Mata in the position of either killing her and looking like a murderer or winning with honor and living.
See, I had kind of mixed feelings on the outcome of that.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I mean, I wanted Shay to win, obviously.
Yeah, so did I. It just, for me, it felt like when I was, and this could have been my fault for not reading close enough in the last couple books, but I didn't know that it was an option to kind of like surrender in a fight like that. Did I miss something, or like was that?
They just explain it in like right when Shay is explaining, like right in that chunk, they were like, yeah, you can kill him or not, but once the other person has basically given up the like you win and they're disarmed and on their back sort of thing, then yes, the other person still can kill them, but it's like dishonorable to do so because they're not actively trying to kill you anymore.
I guess it just felt like a little bit, I guess, like empty to me because it meant that Shay was never actually in danger because she kind of like always had that in her back pocket, you know? So it made the fight feel a little bit like, I don't
But
know.
she had to get to that spot where she was,
Absolutely.
because
Yeah,
at any point, you know, at any point during the fight, she could have gotten run through or beheaded or something that would have just been death immediately, you know? So it was a
for
pretty
sure.
big toss of the dice.
No, I'm not saying she didn't take a chance, but it's just like it made it feel like oh, she could just surrender and like
Yeah,
it's fine.
it took
You
away a
know,
little bit of the power for sure. I get what you're
for
saying.
me, like I don't know, because it was still really cool, and I wasn't expecting it at all. Even though looking back on it, it makes a lot of sense that she would, you know, pull out that option and say, "All right, I'm going to offer you a clean blade," because if you think about it, that really was the only option left to Shay, and especially after having gotten that procedure and just kind of like the mental space that Shay was in leading up to the fight, I was very like nervous for her. I honestly thought Shay was gonna die. I think that maybe it might have led to
Yeah.
like me being a little bit disappointed, just like as a reader in the end of it, because like I really just with the build up to the fight,
Wanted Shay to
I didn't
die.
I didn't want Shay to die, but it would have I don't know, but it wouldn't have made a lot of sense because then it's just Hilo and the Make
hmm The
brothers,
clan
like
needs the story needs her, unfortunately. But I would have,
yeah.
it would have been an interesting turn to see what would have happened. Chaos.
Yeah, and I mean, and I'm not even suggesting that any of these characters necessarily have plot armor. Like all of this like makes sense, but the fight was really cool, obviously.
Yeah, it was really cool. I enjoy Fonda's telling of a one-on-one battle. She does a really good job with that.
Yeah, these are some really creative fight scenes. I like the weapons a lot. I like the way that
Mhm.
Jade is used in the scenes too. Deflections and things like that. Like even when you're introducing in other scenes when you've got people with guns, it adds this whole different dynamic to everything. Like it makes it feel like everything that's like I'm picturing the fight as happening like way faster
Oh, it's
than
laser
other
fast.
yeah, so it kind of adds that
And with them
whole
like grabbing
dynamic.
bullets, slinging them back at the other people, and just like
Mhm.
deflecting them, getting in sword fights, getting actually cut, but then stealing your skin so you don't. I forget what section it was, but there was someone was killing someone else, and they were like, this person stealed their skin, and they made the other person like hack his head off like
Yeah.
7 times or something.
I wanted to go over another thing real quick before we go into the next recap, and that was Mutt poisoning Barrow.
Yeah, good call.
Wasn't expecting that at
I
all.
literally have Mutt poisons Barrow. Did all caps not expect that happening? Because Mutt's kind of toothless.
Right, but I mean, like there is like that really cool exchange where Mutt kind of like lays into Barrow a little bit, like as he's
Mm-hmm.
dying, kind of kicks him while he's down.
Yeah.
And I remember writing out kind of like Barrow's thought process, like kind of as he's passing out, was really good. Where he's just so like frustrated, and he's just like, I can't believe this is how I'm dying.
Right.
Like
He
this
catches
guy.
so many breaks, but then he doesn't at the same time catch any breaks. It needed to happen because one of them, like someone needed to go down in a terrible way for Lan. Mutt was the scapegoat for that, and Barrow gets to live on.
Yeah, because Mutt wasn't responsible at all for Lan dying,
No, no, he
right?
wasn't even like
Yeah.
there, not even friends with Barrow at the time. He just managed to get the Jade from Barrow, and so Hilo thinks that it was him.
I know, I thought that was kind of weird that Mutt would just like go into a bar, get really drunk, and then just start spouting off like every like
You
that was
know,
weird. Not bad, but weird.
yeah, Mutt's character was very dumb, very one-sided. He is not smart at all. He was a lackey, and the only reason that he became anything was by not that Barrow's super smart, but Barrow's got like a mystique, a luck to him. It allowed them both to kind of play in the same game as the big leagues for a little bit. And then Mutt on his own immediately does something just ridiculously foolish.
Actually, real quick before the recap, I wanted to just kind of dip in and talk about what's going on with Andon at Port Massey. Not a lot with Andon. Like, I mean, like the Grudge Hall, kind of like Kekene's like community center gets shot up, which, I mean, that was a cool scene. Just seeing Ron Toro, this person, he keeps the jade in his gloves, which I thought was really neat. And, Ron Toro is really awesome, and I mean that whole scene was cool. It made a lot of sense that Doc Lawson would kind of appeal to Andon. I mean, there's really not a whole lot of other places that he can turn, I guess. Oh, all of that made sense. I don't know. We didn't see a whole lot of Andon in this.
No, he wasn't super involved there. But he's beginning to become very, very useful with all of his connections that he's made and his knowledge of the culture. One of my favorite things, like lines that I just laughed out loud, was when Hilo comes back from going over to Espenia and negotiating with the gangs over there, basically, and that he's going to start selling them jade, and that he's going to like get a foothold. He's trying to establish his foothold over in Espenia, right? And he makes the deal with the local gang bosses that he's going to start selling jade, and then he comes back and Shay is pretty upset with him, and he's like, what? She's just like, you agreed to sell 100 kilos of raw jade rock to an Espenian crime boss, and you promised cut jade, manpower, and from the sounds of it, tributary clan status to some people you just met. Hilo's response, do you disagree with what I did? He's just so great. He just attacks everything so straightforward, and just it was great.
Well, and they're not even really selling like the good jade to them, right? It's like it's the scrap kind of raw jade that they've been taking from the smugglers from Zapunyo's crews, which I thought was really smart, because like the crews in Port Massey don't seem to really understand what jade is. Like they don't seem to really understand even like the Call family or anything really to do with the Kekenese people. So it was very shrewd on Hilo's part to kind of be like, well, you know that this is really valuable, so we'll hook you up with some jade. And they're just like, sure, whatever, jade.
They're like, oh man, that'd be awesome. We'd be like the best gangsters in all the land.
But I guess I mean, I kind of really sympathized with Shay and kind of understood where she was coming from, just in the sense that it seemed very it seemed weird, I guess, just to have Hilo just kind of bound off over there.
Oh yeah, and even out of character for him to sell it to gangsters. Like, what?
Well, and he was just so willing to just go over there and just help out in Espenia when he hasn't really shown like any real enthusiasm for even the No Peak clan like expanding into those territories, even in like a real estate capacity. Like, I'm sure, I don't think he's got like much of a huge problem with it, but it all seems like weatherman type stuff.
Right, he's not the business guy.
No, that felt a little bit weird.
I mean, like anything, he decided to do it, and when Hilo decides to do something, he never goes halfway.
All right, so going into the second recap, Make Ken, the Horn of No Peak, is dead. Ooh, boy. This is just such a problem. I want to find out more about what's going on. Like, yeah, let's get right into it.
All right, let's do it. After the explosion intended for Hilo but killing Mike Ken, Morrow confesses it was his actions that lead to the bomb being planted. He explains that his family was used as leverage to make him turn on the Calls. Shay gives him a quick death, knowing that Mike Tar would torture him for many hours to avenge his brother. Barrow survives the poisoning because a neighbor called an ambulance, but finds himself depressed after being betrayed and having all his jade stolen. Deciding to put it in the hands of the gods, he attempts to gamble all his money away, but is prevented from doing so by Aiden, the armless No Peak member. After learning Barrow was involved with Zapunyo's jade smuggling operation, Aiden calls Hilo, who questions Barrow. The information leads Hilo and his men to Soradillo, one of Zapunyo's higher-ups on Kikon, and the man responsible for the car bomb that killed Ken. Afterwards, Hilo and clan go on an illegal jade smuggling sanitization spree, eliminating many illegal operations, but still leaving him no closer to killing Zepunyo. Andin, still dating Cory, has been working with Hametumishan, Hilo's man in Espenia, and is proving to be an asset with his local contacts and knowledge of Espenian culture. Hilo asks him to help him kill Zepunyo, as Hilo has just learned that Zepunyo will be traveling there to get a medical operation. Andin agrees and asks Doc Lawson for assistance, who agrees to give it to him only if Andin breaks things off with Cory. Andin does not want to, but decides to do right by the clan and ends his relationship with Cory. Wen successfully smuggles Jade into Espenia and meets up with Andin. The plot to kill Zepunyo almost gets cancelled, as Zepunyo makes some changes to his schedule at the last minute. But Wen, unbeknownst to Hilo but wanting to help the clan, gets Shay to allow her involvement with an impromptu plan. The plan goes fine and Zepunyo is killed. However, during their escape, they are attacked by a new gang lord in Espenia, and Ron Toro is killed. Wen barely lives. Hilo learns of this and in a fit of rage assaults Shay for putting his wife at risk. He tries to fire Shay from her position, but Shay refuses to be let go. Andin returns home and is welcomed back with open arms. He tells Hilo that he will once again wear Jade, but only as a healer. The book ends with Barrow meeting some locals who want to take down the clans and end their control of Kikon. For the first time, he says he wants nothing to do with Jade, but that the removal of the clans is something he could get behind.
Wow. Oh my god, that last 100 pages, I was just like, whoa, 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 whoa,
yeah,
whoa.
okay.
Man, that scene when Andin and Rontoro and Wen get attacked,
Did you think that I thought Wen was out?
Of
Wen
course,
was gone.
They put a
was
plastic
like, she's done.
bag over. I thought all of them were dead.
Oh, wow!
Like in the back of my mind, I was like, Andin's probably Andin will probably be fine because he was the last one. You know, and it was all like from his perspective and stuff, and yeah. But Wen, I thought, is dead. Like Wen is dead, and I mean, she's kind of like she's basically out of the picture now because she. It sounds like there was just like a couple lines, but it sounds like she had some pretty intense like brain damage, which obviously can happen after like just a few minutes
of having no oxygen. Yeah, your brain starts to like break down. Yeah, and I kind of knew it was coming. Like we both talked about this before, how we were like, we hate the fact that we know something's going to happen to Wen. Like, please no, but we knew it was coming, you know?
Yeah, I mean, like I think that in my mind, it was like Fonda Lee did such a good job at kind of they got past the police. There was nobody following them. She was very careful to say there were no police following them, actually, because there was somebody following them. But you know, it's like it's the last 30-40 pages of the book. You know, I thought they were away free and clear. Honestly, I figured something maybe would happen to Wen in the next book or something. I thought that Make Ken getting killed was kind of the climax there.
Yeah, same.
And that like they were going to kill Zepunyo, and then the book was kind of just going to wrap up. Like the plan to kill Zepunyo was very quickly put together.
Right, and they had a little few hiccups where Zepunyo was like, I know that you're not who you say you are. I was like, oh no, and then they quickly resolved that. And I'm like, okay, that was the trials and tribulations that's going to happen during this plan. We did it. Go team.
Well, that part was so cool too because Zepunyo was just like, I can't remember exactly what his line was, but he said something like, "Oh, they sent somebody to kill me" or something, and then Andin was like, "Oh, I'm here to kill you."
Yeah, he's like, "Yeah, but you're wrong. I am here to kill you."
Yeah, that was really cool. That was awesome.
Okay, question for you about the gang that attacks them.
Yeah,
who is that? Because did they mention who that gang is? Because it mentioned like a new gang shows up or something. And I'm like, do you have any understanding there?
Yeah, it's Skinny Reams.
Oh, yeah, the guy who gets attacked and then jumps into the water under gunfire. Okay.
There's like that exchange between Rontoro and Skinny Reams where he's like, "Come on, man, like we go way back." You know, like, why are you doing
I totally
this?
Missed that.
And Skinny Reams is like, you know, because Rontoro is basically just like, if you're going to be the new person in charge here, then don't you want to make more friends than enemies? And Skinny Reams is just like, Yeah, but I just really don't like you Kekanese people, and it's just like, damn, man. Like,
Wow.
uh, but
And it's Reams, not Reeves.
I think it's Reams. I don't know. Like,
Okay, I forget. Whatever.
there's a
That
lot of
guy.
names.
Yeah.
There's so many names.
Okay, well that helps my understanding. Okay, interesting. So he goes from being almost killed, betrayed by his own people, to he's the new gang boss. He's the new crime lord in town. Wow, he must have had some friends in high places. I wonder how his come up and in the underworld happened.
I don't know. I'm curious to see how the events with like the cruise kind of like starts unfolding in the next book, and how much.
Or if it'll even matter. Like nobody's on the island anymore.
What island?
Or Aspenia.
Oh yeah, nobody's in Hispania anymore. I
Yeah.
guess I didn't really think about that.
I mean, Corey, maybe. Okay, here's a prediction that I have. I think Corey will be used as some sort of turmoil. Someone will be trying to get Andon to do something in the next book, and I think Corey is going to be the leverage that I don't know what Andon will do, whether or not he'll fall for it, but
Yeah.
I think Corey is going to be trapped, and they're going to be like, "You need to do this." And Andon's going to be like, "Why would I ever do that?" And then they're going to show him like a picture of Corey tied and
Right.
gagged or something.
It's funny, like I had like weird mixed feelings about Corey throughout the latter half of this book, because at first
Yeah,
I liked Corey a lot, and then I don't know, just like that conversation that he had with Andon, where Andon was basically just like, "Hey, like I can't do this anymore. You know, I've got all these responsibilities that I can't really like tell you all about them, but this is just
right.
this is the way it has to go down." And Corey was just really not even
Cavalier.
1% supportive of it. You know, basically
Yeah,
just like told him to go fuck himself. And it was just like what I'm seeing here, or at least like my prediction on the whole Andon Corey thing, is that it seems like Andon kind of has stronger feelings for Corey than Corey does for Andon.
yeah.
And I don't know, with the last couple of books, like it really, I mean, who knows? Maybe Corey joins up with the crews or something and
Yeah, Corey's
fights
still kind of
Andon,
like
or
in his frat boy stage of life, where Andon's like
yeah.
never was that, first off, but he's also kind of through that, and he's been through some stuff. He's hardened and he's gained friends and lost them, and he's had some really, really terrible things. However, Corey's just kind of been like, I'm just like going to law school, and like every time he calls and talks to him, he's like having fun. He's at a party or
Right.
something. He's just like I don't
I
know,
feel
just kind of a
bad
little
for
F boy.
Andon.
Yeah, me too. I'm like,
Like
nah.
I did think that was really cool when Doc Lawson was basically like, not only did he know that Andon and Corey were an item, which was just like that pillar is so cool,
I know.
but when Andon, I thought it was gonna be a little bit more of a fight, like not fight like a physical one, but I thought Andon would struggle with that
Struggle.
decision a little bit more, and I think that was just a test. Like Andon had to make a call, right? Like, am
Mm-hmm.
I going to help my family out? Am I going to like do the thing that I know that
A
I need
call,
to
call.
do? Yeah, he had to make a call. Like, am I going to do the thing that I need to do so that we can do what's best for No Peak and the Kekanese and Janloon and stuff, or am I going to make sure I can stay with my boyfriend?
Right. Same thing that happened with Shay multiple times. She's had to make calls. Is she going to do her own thing and go off and get her own little job and kind of say goodbye to family and culture? Or is she going to really double down on the family and her role in No Peak? And she No Peaks, as does Andon.
Well, and I think that's like one of the central kind of like through lines of these books, is like, how important is family if it's affecting your life so negatively. Andon and Shay both have like these opportunities to kind of distance themselves from this violent culture that they're so immersed in.
But they see the flaws with.
Yeah, but they don't, like they ultimately choose to stay with it. And it's like, even at the end of the second book, it's like I couldn't even answer the question of like which one is actually more important, because it doesn't seem like they're getting a lot out of this,
Right.
like at all. Like everyone's dying, you know.
Like Shay has to kill her ex, who she didn't want to be
Yeah,
the ex.
that scene was really,
Oh
really
man,
hard to read.
super hard. I was just like, oh no. I kept thinking something was gonna happen.
Yeah, me
Something's gonna then
too.
and then man, she just beheads him.
Well, like while I was reading it, I knew that Shay, if all other things were, if it was just like isolated between the two of them, Shay wouldn't have killed him. And
Oh no.
so while I was reading, I kept thinking, okay, something's gonna come up here. That like Morrow can't die, obviously. And then it mentioned something about Make Tar coming back, and Shay was starting to like cry a little bit, and I was just like, oh
Oh
no.
no.
Like,
Yeah,
this
dude,
is
me
gonna be
too.
so bad.
I was like, he's definitely gonna kill him.
Yeah, I mean, I wish that Morrow had stuck around at least into the third book. Kind of felt
Yeah.
like like Sean Astin in the second season of Stranger Things. Like like
Yes.
such an amazing character, and then like just we didn't get enough of him. And
Yeah.
like I feel like Mario got done dirty, and
He did get done dirty. He should have also he did himself dirty though. Like, come on. Did you what sort of what did you accomplish by showing up there and being like, it was me, my bad.
yeah,
I know you're gonna kill me, but my bad. Like,
because he
nah,
needed
dude,
to
get
be
the heck out.
honest.
Nah.
Shay was honest with him. Shay was honest with him, Chad.
Yeah, well,
You can't have
sometimes a little fib goes a long way.
right. It's like we need to build this relationship off honesty, but it's like, what's the point if it kills you?
Yeah.
You don't
I
have a
remember.
relationship anymore. But what would Morrow have done? Like eventually that information would have gotten out.
Oh, he should bail.
You know?
He should have just gotten on the first ship
Just
to
out.
Espenia and beyond.
No, yeah, that's true too.
So I would have done.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. But you know what? That's just the kind of guy Morrow is.
I know, but he was being threatened. It's not like he did anything wrong.
Maybe some small part of Morrow thought that if he kind of like beseeched Shay and the Call family and like explained the situation. I mean, that's not really the vibe that I got. It felt more like he just had to tell somebody that was what happened.
I think he was ridden with guilt. Because he knew, he was like, oh, that's why they wanted me to do those things.
Well, and it could have been Wen and 2 kids.
Yeah.
I think that's what kind of shook him up so much. Like if Wen had walked toward that car, like it would have been not only make Ken, but Wen and Rue and Nico too. Part of me as a reader is like, that should have happened because like I just want to see. I want to see like what Hilo would have burned that whole city down.
Oh, dude.
Speaking of Hilo, that scene between him and Shay where they fight each other put me really on edge.
Or he just beats the crap out of her?
Well, I mean, she fights back. She like knocks a little bit. Like but like that had me even a little bit more on edge than the scene where Ron Toro gets where Ron Toro gets shot or bagged and because like Shay and Hilo have such a history. They're both really powerful green bones, and it was just the two of them in there. And so while I was reading, I just kept thinking, is one of them gonna kill the other one?
Right.
Because we're at the very end of the book here. That would put the third book in such a wild spot to start that the horn or the weatherman killed the pillar, or the pillar killed the weatherman, and like with the kind of division that would spark in the family and stuff. But I'm really glad that didn't happen because it would have just been a mess.
Oh man.
Probably one that you wouldn't be able to, like, you can't get that toothpaste back in that tube,
No.
But then that, like, I mean, I think, was it Rue or Nico, like, kind of shows up at the door?
Yeah, one of them shows up and they're like, he was like fists over Shay and is like, okay, maybe I should not be beating the crap. Yeah, but it was a very uncomfortable scene, that's for sure.
And then that part where Hilo is like, all right, you're fired. I don't want you to be the weatherman anymore. And Shay's basically just like, well, sorry, Hilo. Like,
I do not accept your forceful firing of me.
But honestly, like, who else is gonna do it? Who else is gonna do that good of a job? She's done. I mean, obviously, Shay's messed up. Everybody's messed up. Everybody has done pretty good at some things and totally messed up other things. But Shay is absolutely the only person that can do this job.
Absolutely. Like the clan will crumble without Shay.
And maybe Wen could have done it, but Wen is indisposed now.
Yeah, she's got brain damage or something.
There's just
I don't think she's going to be a very big part of the third book.
I hope she is. I hope that whatever's, maybe she makes some sort of miraculous like Jade recovery, or maybe Andon can help her if he's going to medical school or something. That's another cool thing is that Andon does come back and does put Jade back on, but he says he'll only do it if he's healing people.
Yeah, whatever. He's going to be wearing a ton of Jade and he's going to get attacked, and he's definitely going to go on the offensive. I'm stoked for it. I really want, and I feel like Andon is like a power that we have yet to see fully unleashed.
He reminds me of Gohan from Dragon Ball Z, right? Like he's like,
I don't want to hurt you.
Yeah, and he's just like this kid, and it feels like there's this kind of base power level that everybody's at. in these books, but Andon is like the reluctant, way more powerful than everybody
Super way
else
more
kind of thing.
powerful.
And that is kind of a trope, but I love that trope.
Me
I
too.
love it. So, and it's being done very, very well in these books,
Oh yeah, and
obviously.
he's
But
so reserved, and the Andy character is being played very well. But I am very glad to see him back home, back part of the clan with purpose again. He's found like a way. He's like, oh, I know, I can be Greenbone, but a healer Greenbone. I'm like, yeah, good on you, Andy. You can.
a lot of this gives me. Have you ever watched Goodfellas?
Yeah, I have.
You know that part where what's the main character's name? Henry. That part where Henry's like, he's all like coked out and he's like making spaghetti and he's got to like drive that person to the airport and he's got to like go pick up his brother from the hospital and he's like looking at helicopters and stuff and he's just so like out of it, he's like
Yeah.
so strung out. Like Hilo kind of gives me like a Henry Hill kind of impression sometimes,
Mm.
where he's like he's very good at what he's doing, but when his kid like swallowed Jade or something and they had to go to the hospital and he's got all these plans going on and I could just like feel how stressed out he was.
Yeah.
So it kind of gave me that same vibe as like the end of Goodfellas. But
I
maybe I've just got like crime movies on the brain.
Yeah, maybe so. Now when Hilo was beating the heck out of Shay, it kind of solidified in my mind Hilo's gone. Hilo's gonna die.
I think so too. Yeah.
He's gonna die. And I really, really hope that it's a way that like him like seeing the light, him seeing kind of the error of some of his ways, and like his final act is like an act of like, be better than me, people, and
Yeah,
does
I could
something
see
heroic.
that. I would be interested to see like kind of like what events lead to that. I mean, both of us obviously could be really wrong and Hilo could not die, but it's just I'm getting the same feeling as you. Like I really do feel like Hilo's gonna
Yeah.
die.
He did some things in this book that were not okay.
Yeah, but I don't think that necessarily means that he's like I don't think that his previous actions are mean like that he's going to die in the next one.
But it'll make it mean more if he does it the right way.
Right. Yeah, I see what
Yeah.
you're saying. I see what you're saying for sure. I mean, like I think that kind of like what we've touched on a few times in these episodes for this series is that Hilo tends to still cling to a lot of different like kind of older, more conservative ideologies when it comes to a lot of how to handle these situations. And even with a lot of the conversations that Ait Mata has had with different characters, she even kind of seems to be drifting away from those kind of older ideologies.
Yeah, to a worse one.
Right. Yeah. And she's not doing a good job. She's not being a very
No.
like good person either. But what I'm saying is that like Hilo, it's soon not going to make sense for Hilo to be the leader.
Yes.
And I think that a lot of what's going on here and a lot of like how brutal and violent and horrible everything is, it's not necessarily Hilo's fault, but I think that he is complicit in a lot of like the instigation of a lot of these things. And somebody like Andon or somebody even like Shay would probably not let things escalate or allow for things to happen that would allow for escalation. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I don't think Hilo's doing it intentionally. It's just kind of like that's his bag, like he's very used to like a good example, and I don't even know if this is going to have like serious ramifications or anything, but when Hilo kind of at the end of this book just goes on a rampage, like I could see something in the next book being like, well, remember when you did all that? Like here's the consequence of that, and you were so virtuous, you were doing you thought you were doing the right thing, but obviously you're going in and cracking skulls and completely ruining the day-to-day life of everybody else that's in this city, so
and
yeah.
his good deeds do get awarded, right? He even ponders about it when he was like, oh, I remember not killing this dude who was trying to steal Jade in the first chapter of the book. And he's like, look at this, it's come back around, and now I'm getting information from this kid.
Totally.
So he kind of has a little bit of that causative effect. Maybe he'll see also the negative causative effect before it's all said and done.
We'll see. Yeah. I mean, like, I honestly think that this whole series is going to end with either, I mean, I could see the clans being completely abolished. I could totally see that happening. Or I could see, like the Mountain Clan kind of folding or being absorbed by No Peak with Andon or Shay. either Shay at the top or Andon at the top, were them kind of like ruling in some kind of like committee fashion or something.
Yeah.
But I think that what's being foreshadowed, at least in my opinion, and obviously I haven't read the third book, but I think that what's being hinted at here is that change needs to come.
Yes.
Like some things need to be reworked. Like we can't, because it's just there's going to be another war. You know what I mean? Like if we stick to these kinds of ideologies, like all
We're
it's going
just
to
looping.
take,
We never even
right?
stopped the last war. It just kind of went
Yeah,
underground for a little while, and we started using third and fourth players. And now, because of that, those third and fourth players are in a war, and they're
ugh,
killing each other, and they might even invade. And I am very okay. I have a before we wrap up here, I have a prediction that I want to ask you if you think this is going to happen.
sure.
It almost feels like a significant chunk of time is going to pass between the end of this book and the next, like a couple years. Do you think that that might be the case?
I mean, I guess I could see that because nothing is necessarily like super pressing. And I
Right.
think that like if you look at the very last chapter with Barrow talking to those kind of like, I don't know, they seem like counter or like some,
Dissenters.
yeah, I have a feeling that they're going to need some time to kind of get what they've got going.
Yeah, and I think that
Zapunyo's dead.
the kids need
Uh,
to grow a little bit. If there's any like
yeah.
we pondered in the past maybe them taking over the clan at the end of these books,
Well,
but
like
they're
how
in
much
no
time do you
position
think
to.
is well, how much time do you think is going to go by?
If it wasn't for the war on Aspenia, I would say we might be being set up for like a solid 10 to 15 years. But
What?
but
Really?
with the war, I don't think that's going to happen. I think it just might be like 2.
Yeah, I would say maybe like less than that even.
Yeah.
I don't know, because Andon, I don't know, because I guess like what? How much time passes between the end of this book and the end of Jade City? Like 3 years, 4 years,
Yeah, in this last
something
book
like.
that and over the last since
Yeah,
Jade,
so
the end
like
of
the
Jade City to the end of Jade War, yeah.
yeah, like 4 or
Got
5
like
years or something.
something like that. I would say like 3, I think.
So
Like 3 years.
I could see like 2 years passing, and then, but I don't know. We'll find out. Like we both took a little bit of a break from these books,
Yeah.
and for to do a bunch of other stuff. And I mean, personally, what I would really like to see is like 2 years to pass, and then the entire book happening in like a week.
Yeah, yeah, just like it being an insane event. And I think that might be
Nah,
the
that's not
case.
gonna happen.
No?
That's not gonna happen.
I don't
I
know.
mean, maybe, but like it seems like Fonda Lee really likes to skip around in time a
She
lot,
does.
and that's not a fault at all. I kind of like it
Hmm.
because it makes things feel a little bit more real.
Yeah.
Because it makes sense that
It's like life can't be always exciting.
right, yeah, it
It's
kind of makes sense
unrealistic.
that like 3 months passes, and it
Not
really
that
is
much
just
happens.
yeah, it really is just like Shay going to work and like locking down real estate deals and like
Right.
dating this guy,
And you don't
then
build like
is
relationships or trust with people in a week. It takes
no,
time.
but we don't need to build those anymore. We need everyone
No, we've got them.
to like we need to blow everything up.
Yeah, dude.
Um,
The board is set for the fireworks to start
I've
going off.
heard really good things about Jade Legacy.
Me too.
Like people are really excited about it. I
Yep.
don't know.
And
I
just the
think
name Jade Legacy and kind of implies what we're
right.
talking about. Like
It
something's gonna
does.
happen, dude. Something's gonna happen where it's like, what is the Jade Legacy?
Let's see. I wonder if I have any other. Let's before we go. I think maybe I should make a prediction.
Yeah, do
What's
that.
my prediction?
What is your prediction?
Hang on. Well, okay. So this isn't really much of a prediction, but it's almost like it's like a question musing kind of thing. I'm trying to think of the best way to phrase this. So for some reason, I feel like Rue and Nico are in danger.
Yes.
Like I really believe that.
We needed some
And
innocence.
I don't think that anything. I don't think they're necessarily going to get killed, but I think something to do with Rue and Nico is going to come up in this third book. Someone's going to try to bait Hilo.
Like, do you think they're gonna be captured?
I don't know, but like it feels like Zapunyo is dead. There's not really Port Massey, like you said before. I mean, like Andon's gone. I mean, I guess like Corey's still there. They're still dealing with stuff over there, but I don't really see Andon like flying back to Port Massey or
No.
anything. Like,
No, he's in
um,
Kikon.
so it feels like we've kind of like shrunk back in to Janloon
Yeah, we've
a
gone
little
big
bit.
and then come back together.
And obviously that might not be what happens in the next book, but it feels like the way that I'm looking at everything, I feel like the Mountain Clan has been dormant for
Mhm.
this whole last book, essentially. And I think that they're going to kind of spring out and really start trying to take control of this whole city. And I think that maybe one of the ways to really do that and to really get leverage over the pillar is to take his kids. They feel too vulnerable. I mean, it already hinted at it a little bit, like with them almost dying in a fiery car explosion, and like
there's going to be no more like go playtime at the park. Like,
well,
no.
and when is out of the picture, at least from where I'm sitting.
Yeah.
So that's one less parent. Hilo's going to be busy. I don't know. It's just that's what I'm kind of predicting.
I'm afraid for those chillins.
Well, I just think it's just gonna get dirtier.
It is.
I'm excited.
It is. Yeah, I think the kids and I think Corey, we both have like people are going to be
Corey.
Soft spots are going to be abused. But yeah, I think, and I really like how she did this. We started very small, very laser on what was important, the main players that are going to take us through the entire story in the first book. The second book, we expand so we can understand the surrounding country a little bit more of like the world stage, and the cultures and the other things that play going on in the world. And then at the end of this book, she brings the story back now with our newfound understanding of all the pieces so that things are going to be relevant to us when they're parts of this next book. She shrinks them on down. I think all the action is going to happen on KCON.
It's so funny making a podcast where we're doing these really long form discussions on, obviously we've read 2 books, but we have not read a third book. And just like the amount of space for us to be so incorrect.
So wrong.
Because like in the end of the last episode, I was so sure that Shay was going to like try to marry Loon, and like it all like made sense. And
it made sense to me too. Yeah, I was like, that rings with truth.
And then in like the first page of I was wrong. But I don't know, I'm having a good time.
Me too. These books are awesome.
They really are. And for anybody listening who's curious about what we're reading after Greenbone, we're reading the Winter Night trilogy.
Yeah, we are.
Catherine Arden is the author of those books, and it's like Russian folklore. I think maybe based on it. Yeah, I don't know if it's exactly it, but yeah, 3 fairly short books, and I think it'll be a nice change from kind of this vibe that we've got going here to maybe something a little bit more fantastical. So I think it's a good call.
Yeah, me too. We got to swing the pendulum back and forth a little bit. We did like old high fantasy, confusing fantasy. And then we did some like, would you call this urban fantasy?
I would call it
this is an urban family, like new age urban family.
It's high, I think it's high urban fantasy, technically.
Yeah. But you did it in a way that it's new age. Like people are getting in cars, which is fine. But like, it's not so new age that, because for some reason I just really dislike it when I'm reading it. I'm like, and after magic class, like they posted something to their Instagram. I'm like, nope, don't want to know about it. So this is like done so well in that it's kind of modern age with cars and technology.
It's like late 60s.
Yeah.
It gives me like a late 60s, like early 70s vibe.
Yeah, it's perfect.
Maybe the 80s, but not quite.
We don't have any of the internet going on.
No. Is there internet?
I don't think so.
I don't think
there's phones.
There's phones, TV.
Yeah, but sending faxes maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like if there was internet, we would have.
Yeah. I'm glad there's not. I don't want there to be internet in the story.
Attacks.
Yeah.
It's like one more thing to deal with. But yeah, I'm really excited to read Jade Legacy. I'm gonna go read it right now on my Kindle because there's only a hardcover version of it, and I haven't bought. I'm gonna have to pay twice for this book because I won't get the hardcover. So dumb, but it's gonna look great on my shelf.
My hardcover is in the mail.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I hope it looks good.
It's gonna look great next to my 2 paperbacks. Hey, one of my paperbacks is signed, so they're all looking great.
Well, everybody, that's going to wrap it up for us today on Book Reviews Kill. Thank you so much for joining us for part 2 of our Jade War recap, for recapping the Greenbone Saga by Fonda Lee. And we will hit you next week with our first episode recapping Jade Legacy.
And if you'd like to support Book Reviews Kill, there's a link to our Patreon in the description below. We have a couple signed copies that Fonda sent us of the Jade War book, and we'll be giving those away to our Patreons when we wrap up the series. So if you join our Patreon, do that if you want a chance to get one of those bad boys.
And also, we have a Discord. If you'd like to join the Discord and get in on this conversation, we do have a specific channel for Greenbone Saga, and we will have a specific channel for every series that we read on the podcast in the Discord under the Book Reviews Kill.
A place where you can go tell Evan and I how wrong we are about all of our predictions.
Just make sure you tag the spoilers.
Yeah.
Please tag the spoilers. Everybody's been really good about that.
They've been so good. I get so proud of everyone when I go into one of those channels and there's just black scripting, because you can tag it in Discord where it's all covers it in black and it's just like black. Yeah.
Anyway, thank you so much, everybody, for listening. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.